Okay, picture this with me for just a second. You're flying high, way up in a helicopter over Glendale. Buildings spread out below, right? And then you see it, a specific building. And it hits you just 12 years back. You were cleaning floors in that exact building. A janitor. Scared. Anxious about your old VW, even making the drive to work. And now you're looking down from the sky and you think, wow, what a difference a decade can make. That feeling, that massive shift from fear to, well, something totally different, that's what we're really diving into today.
Yeah, that image is powerful, isn't it? It really captures that huge transformation, moving from feeling stuck, maybe even despairing, to achieving something incredible. And what's key here, what this whole work suggests, is that all that past stuff, the failures, the frustrations, it's not actually a barrier. It's almost like raw material, fuel even. It can build a foundation for totally new ways of thinking, new insights, and just a completely different level of living. That direct, visceral experience of change that really sets the stage for everything we're getting into.
Absolutely. So our mission today is a really deep dive into the core ideas of a classic, Awaken the Giant Within. And we're not just looking to, understand the concepts in the book. We want to help you actively internalize them, actually implement the lessons. The goal is to give you practical, real strategies for making what the book calls global changes in your own life. Not just fixing one little thing, but really unlocking a whole new way of operating across the board.
Right. If you think about personal growth generally, it's all about moving past just knowing something to actually doing it. We've all heard it, right? Many people know what to do, but few people actually do what they know. That's the gap. And this deep dive, well, it's designed to help you bridge that exact gap, give you a clear blueprint for taking consistent action, and yeah, ultimately transforming your destiny.
And here's what we promise you for this deep dive. This is your shortcut. Your way to get really well informed on these life-changing ideas. We'll pull out surprising facts, deep insights, and hopefully have an engaging enough discussion to keep you totally hooked. We're going to extract the most important nuggets, make these sometimes complex ideas easy and honestly kind of fun to understand. The aim is to enlighten you, motivate you, and really get you fired up to take charge of your own destiny. So let's jump right into the heart of what really drives us and how you can start harnessing that power. Okay, let's unpack this first major section. We're calling it the foundational forces of personal power. And the master key, the absolute bedrock idea here is this. It's our decisions, not the conditions around us, that ultimately shape our destiny. Just let that sink in for a moment. It means you have the power right now to change any part of your life just by making a new decision. The book lays this out right at the start. It's fundamental.
It's amazing how often we overlook that, isn't it? We get caught up in circumstances. The book talks about this unseen trap. Most people just sort of dabble their way through life.
Yeah.
They never really decide to master anything specific, often majoring in minor things, putting energy into stuff that doesn't really matter long term.
Yeah.
And it's not just about putting things off, it's deeper. What the author says so powerfully is that not deciding consciously. Well, that is a decision. It's a decision to let your environment dictate your path instead of you taking the wheel.
That's such a critical point. It's like our decision-making muscles get weak, right? Like the author puts it, we get used to not deciding or letting things happen to us. So that crucial muscle just, gets flabby. So how do we strengthen it? It's pretty simple, actually. Make more decisions. And this is key. Learn from every single one, even the ones that don't turn out perfectly. That feedback loop, that's what builds real decision-making power, learning and adjusting.
And you can see the massive impact of this on a bigger scale. Think about the huge changes in Eastern Europe a while back. Those weren't just ordered from the top down by a few leaders. Not at all. They were driven by ordinary people making new, conscious decisions. Decisions about what they'd stand for, what was okay, what wasn't, what they just wouldn't tolerate anymore. Figures like Lech Walesa, his sheer determination, his commitment to a higher standard. That literally paved the road to massive economic and political change. It really shows the collective power of individual decisions stacking up.
And the amazing thing about this, the real beauty, is how immediate it is. This isn't some far-off goal. Right now, listening to this, you can make a decision. One simple choice. A decision that instantly sends you in a new direction. A positive one. You can decide right now to feel more joy today, or have more fun, or feel more confident, or just find some peace of mind. It's about tapping into that power that's already inside you, right this second.
Which leads us perfectly into what the book calls the twin drivers of absolutely everything we do: pain and pleasure. This might be one of the deepest insights we touch on today. It's fundamental to human behavior. The author puts it bluntly. Everything you and I do, we do either out of our need to avoid pain or our desire to gain pleasure. And this isn't just some abstract idea. It's a force, a powerful one. It affects everything: relationships, money, health, even how our brains process things. Everything.
And it's way more subtle than just, intense agony or pure bliss. Think about the whole range, the spectrum. It could be the crushing pain of humiliation, sure, but it could also be just the minor inconvenience of being bored. Or on the other side, the absolute ecstasy of joy versus just the simple comfort of what's familiar. All these nuances, tiny discomfort, subtle pulls towards ease, they all factor into every single choice we make. Our brains are constantly running this pain-pleasure calculation, often without us even realizing it.
Exactly. And that's where neuro-associations come in. Our brains are super efficient, always optimizing. When you experience something really painful or really pleasurable, your brain instantly goes searching. What caused this? It looks for something unique, something consistent, something immediate, and bang, it creates a link, a neuro-association between the trigger and the feeling. That's how we learn fast what to move towards and what to avoid.
But here's where it gets tricky, right? Because this super efficient system can sometimes create false associations. The book is this really striking example of a successful artist. After a really painful breakup, she somehow linked that pain to her own passion. She's a very passionate person, and her brain, trying to find the cause of the hurt, mistakenly decided, it must be my passion that ruined it.
Wow.
Yeah. And this false link then subtly sabotaged her future relationships. The real issue wasn't her passion at all. It was probably a mismatch of values or rules with that specific partner, but her brain created this faulty cause and effect.
Exactly. And you see this all the time with what the book calls mixed signals. Money is a classic example. Consciously, people want freedom, security, pleasurable things money can bring. But unconsciously, maybe deep down, they link having too much money with negative stuff, like greed or being judged or stress or maybe feeling less spiritual.
Right, those conflicting messages.
Totally. And these conflicting associations, often hidden, create this internal tug of war. It leads to self-sabotage. It keeps people stuck below a certain income level, even if they consciously want more.
Okay, so if our brains are doing this automatically, forming these links, how do we start getting a handle on it? Especially with all the conditioning around us. Well, look at the masters. Madison Avenue advertisers. They are experts at playing this pain-pleasure game. They link products to pleasure using music, fast cuts, beautiful people. I think about Pepsi using Michael Jackson.
Oh, yeah, I remember those ads.
He didn't even drink the stuff. But they associated Pepsi with his peak fame, his energy, and sales shot up. Or those old Levi's 501 ads. Logically, they made no sense half the time, but they felt like freedom or rebellion or sensuality, and boom, Levi's were #1. It's all about the feeling they link.
And this conditioning can completely change how we see things. Remember the raisin growers?
Vaguely. What was that again?
They wanted people to eat more raisins, right?
Yeah.
But shriveled and dried aren't exactly sexy words. So they brilliantly linked raisins to that huge Motown hit, I Heard It Through the Grapevine.
Ah, okay. I remember the dancing raisins.
Exactly. Suddenly, raisins felt hip, even cool. It totally shifted the public perception just by creating a new association. That's the power.
And it gets even more intense in politics, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The book points out how negative political ads, even though they're often seen as slimy or manipulative, are incredibly effective.
Why is that?
Because, as the author says, people do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. It's a core human driver. Those ads are designed to create strong pain associations with the opponent: fear, distrust, disgust. And it can be really hard for voters to shake off, even with factual arguments. It hits a deeper, more primal level.
Okay, so this brings up a really crucial question for you listening. What's the immediate action step here?
Well, the very first thing is just awareness. Start noticing this pain-pleasure dance in your own life. Once you see it, you can start making conscious choices. You can decide to link massive, intense pain to the behaviors you want to stop. The book gives that pretty extreme example of the mother making her son drink beer until he threw up.
Right, creating that intense, visceral, negative link.
Exactly. A powerful neuro-association. And conversely, you consciously link intense pleasure to the new things you want to do. Through repetition, through feeling it strongly, you can condition these new pathways until they become automatic. You take control of the associations.
All right, so we've got these foundational forces, decisions, pain, pleasure. Now, how do we turn that understanding into real, consistent results? Let's move into our second big section, the 6 master steps of neuro-associative conditioning, or NAC. The big problem, the gap the author talked about, is that people often know what to do, but few people actually do what they know.
The knowing-doing gap.
Exactly. NAC is the framework designed to bridge that gap. to hardwire new behaviors neurologically so they just happen.
Think of it like having your own personal coach built in. A really good coach cares about your success, right? They know their stuff. And most importantly, they help you build proven strategies to get the results you want efficiently. NEC is basically that system, your personal blueprint for lasting change.
Okay, so master step 1. Sounds simple, but it's so often missed. Decide what you truly want. Clarity is power. You need a clear, undeniable target. That's the absolute starting point for getting real results. If you're fuzzy about what you want, your brain just doesn't know where to aim its resources. It's like trying to navigate without a destination.
And once you have that clarity, step 2 kicks in. Get leverage. Make the change a must. This is where the real transformation happens. If you've tried to change something before and it didn't stick, a habit, a goal, whatever, it just means the pain of not changing wasn't strong enough yet.
Okay. The motivation wasn't intense enough.
Exactly. You have to reach a point, a threshold, where staying the same feels more painful, more unbearable than actually doing the work to change. It has to become a non-negotiable, a must.
And here's a really cool insight. One of the strongest drives we have is to protect our sense of identity, who we believe we are. So real leverage often comes when you tie the change you want to your identity.
How so?
Well, instead of just saying, I was a smoker, you decide fundamentally, I am a healthy person.
I see. It becomes part of who you are.
Precisely. It's not just something you want anymore. It's integral to your core self. So acting consistently with that identity becomes a must.
And to really build that kind of leverage, the book suggests asking yourself some tough, pain-focused questions. Not just, what will changing cost me? But the flip side. What will this cost me if I don't change? What experiences will I miss out on? What pain will I definitely face down the road if I stay stuck here?
Making the cost of inaction really real.
Yeah, and making it feel immediate, visceral, painful to even think about today. Not some vague problem someday. If you're not driven to change now, the leverage just isn't there yet.
Okay, so you've got clarity, you've got leverage. Now, step 3, interrupt the limiting pattern. Our brains love patterns, right? They create these highways of thinking, focusing, questioning. Super efficient, but sometimes they keep us stuck. To change, you absolutely have to break that pattern, scramble the signal.
Right, otherwise you're like that fly the book mentions, just banging against the window pane over and over.
Yeah, wishing for a different outcome, but never changing the approach. Meanwhile, the open door is right over there. You're working hard, but in the wrong direction.
But why do people cling to negative patterns sometimes, even when they hurt? Often it's about secondary gain.
Secondary gain. What's that?
It's the hidden benefit they get from the negative pattern. Maybe depression gets them attention or sympathy, or it's an excuse not to try something scary.
Okay, so there's an unconscious payoff.
Exactly. So first, you need enough leverage for them to want to change. But then, crucially, you have to find new, healthier ways for them to get those same underlying needs met, so the old painful pattern just isn't necessary anymore.
And to really shatter those old patterns, sometimes you need outrageous interrupts.
Yeah, the book has some wild examples.
Like the one about stopping overeating. Go into a restaurant, point at your own empty chair, and just scream, "Pig!" at the top of your lungs.
Right. The idea is to create such intense embarrassment, such massive pain linked to that specific situation that you never want to trigger that feeling again.
It sounds extreme, but the principle is, the more unexpected, the more emotionally intense the interruption, the better it works at breaking the pattern.
A less public, but still really powerful technique is scrambling the sensory stuff, the internal picture or sound.
How does that work?
Well, a negative memory or feeling often holds power because we represent it internally in a specific, consistent way. So you consciously mess with that representation. Take the mental image, run it backwards fast like a cartoon. Change the colors to something ridiculous. Make the figures silly. Put Mickey Mouse ears on your annoying boss. Give him a Donald Duck voice.
Okay, I get it. You scramble the internal code.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It diffuses the emotional charge. It breaks the hold that specific representation had over you.
Didn't Fran Tarkenton, the football player, use something like this?
Yeah, he did. To break his chewing tobacco habit. He linked really vivid, disgusting images of mouth cancer and disease directly to the act of chewing. He did it so intensely that he says the taste itself became repulsive to him.
Wow. That's a powerful interrupt.
Totally. That intense new association gave him the leverage he needed to finally quit, aligning with his deeper value of being healthy. Okay, so the old pattern is interrupted. Now, step 4 is vital. Create a new, empowering alternative. See, when you break an old pathway, your brain immediately looks for a replacement. It still wants the feeling it was getting before.
Right, like how some smokers gain weight when they quit.
Exactly. The brain's looking for that quick pleasure or distraction, and it might find it in food instead of cigarettes. The void needs filling.
So you can't just stop something. You have to consciously choose and design new ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving to put in its place. You have to proactively fill that space with something positive.
Right. And then you vividly imagine that new alternative. See it, hear it, feel it working for you, getting you out of pain and into pleasure quickly. This visualization helps your brain lock onto the new behavior as rewarding and desirable. And to make that new behavior really stick, make it automatic, we get to step 5. Condition the new pattern. This means repetition, but with intense emotion. You rehearse the new way of being over and over, feeling it strongly. You're literally carving out a pathway in your nervous system, like digging a trench until it becomes a super fast highway.
Like building a muscle, essentially. Consistent, emotionally charged practice.
Precisely. It builds strength, makes it reliable.
And there's that cool tip from the dolphin trainers, right? About reinforcement.
Yeah. Positive reinforcement is powerful. But what's really interesting is that intermittent reinforcement, random rewards, can be even more powerful for conditioning behavior.
So apply that to yourself.
Absolutely. Reward yourself for making progress. Even small steps. Don't wait until the finish line to celebrate. Acknowledge and reinforce every positive move you make. That little bit of random reward keeps you motivated and strengthens the new pattern. And finally, step 6. Test it.
Okay, how do you test it?
Before you face the real-world triggers, you mentally rehearse. The book calls it future pacing. Imagine yourself in those old situations where the limiting pattern used to show up. But this time, vividly see, hear, and feel yourself using the new empowering pattern instead. Confidently, easily. And ask yourself key questions during this mental test run. Is pain really linked to the old way now? Is pleasure strongly linked to the new way? Does this new pattern feel right, aligned with my values? Am I still getting any hidden benefits I used to get from the old pattern, but in a healthier way now?
Because life will test you, right?
Oh, guaranteed. The world will give you plenty of chances to try out your new programming.
But see, those tests not as potential failures, but as opportunities. Chances to really solidify the change.
To prove to yourself that the new highway you've built is strong, reliable, and ready for traffic. It's about making the change real and lasting.
All right, let's shift gears now. We're going into what the book calls your master system. Think of it as your internal compass or control panel. This is our third big section, and it's made up of 5 interconnected elements that really drive your life experience. Your state, the questions you ask, your values, your beliefs, and your references.
And understanding how these 5 pieces work together is where the real leverage comes in. They're constantly influencing each other.
Okay, first element. State. This one's maybe the most immediate. Your physical state, your physiology, how you hold yourself, how you breathe it, has a massive direct impact on your emotional state.
Right, and on your ability to even access your brain's full potential.
Exactly. Just changing your posture or taking a few deep breaths can instantly shift how you feel, from down and defeated to energized and capable.
It's incredibly empowering because it means your feelings aren't just things that happen to you. You have direct control right now.
Think about laughter. Pure belly laughter. It's mostly physical, right? A bunch of bodily movements.
Yeah, it shakes your whole body sometimes.
But physiologically, it can boost your immune system, change your brain chemistry, instantly shift your state.
The book has that fun exercise. Find someone with a really great infectious laugh and just mirror them.
Breathe like they breathe. Copy their posture, their facial expression.
You might feel a bit silly doing it.
Totally. But it actually builds the neural pathways for creating that state of laughter more easily yourself. You're consciously choosing a physical state to influence your internal world.
And connected to that is movement, just general movement. It's vital. The book makes this great point. Getting old isn't just about birthdays. It's fundamentally a lack of movement.
Wow, that's profound.
Isn't it? Death ultimately is the complete absence of movement. So by consistently creating patterns of dynamic movement exercise, dancing, just moving your body with energy, you're not just building physical strength. You're cultivating confidence, mental clarity, a feeling of personal power. That mind-body link is just inseparable.
And within state, there's this crucial piece. Focus. Where does your attention go?
Ah, yes. Where focus goes, energy flows. Such a simple but powerful idea.
Think about that race car driver example. To avoid crashing into the wall, what does he have to focus on?
Where he wants the car to go, the clear track ahead.
Exactly, not the wall. Because if he focuses on the wall, guess where he's likely to end up?
Right into it.
Our brains work the same way. Focus on problems, you'll find more problems. Consciously focus on solutions, and your amazing brain will start serving those up instead. It follows your lead.
Now, we can even get more specific about how we focus internally. The book introduces submodalities.
Submodalities. Sounds technical.
A little, but think of them like the controls on your internal TV or sound system. Brightness, contrast, volume, location.
Okay, the qualities of our mental pictures and sounds.
Exactly, the ingredients. You take a positive memory, make the internal picture bigger, brighter, closer, make the sounds richer. What happens?
The feeling gets stronger, more intense.
Right, and you can do the opposite with negative stuff. Make the image small, dim, far away, turn down the volume, muffle the sound.
And that diminishes its emotional impact.
Precisely.
Right.
By consciously tweaking these internal control knobs, you can directly dial your emotional state up or down.
Okay, so a really practical action step here for everyone listening. Make a list, maybe 15, 20 simple things you can do instantly to change your state. Things using your body or your focus. No drugs, no caffeine needed.
Good idea. A personal state change toolkit.
Yeah, and then practice playing with those submodalities. Take a nagging negative thought or memory, make it tiny and gray and distant in your mind. Take a great feeling, make it huge and vibrant and right up close.
Put yourself back in the driver's seat of your own internal experience. All right, second element of the master system. Questions. The questions you habitually ask yourself. Incredibly powerful. Because they instantly change what we're focusing on and therefore how we feel.
And the brain has to answer, right?
It's an answer-seeking machine.
Yeah.
It will find an answer, even if it has to invent one that doesn't actually empower you or might even hold you back.
This is so key. Just think about the difference between asking, why does this always happen to me, versus, okay, how can I learn from this and turn it around?
Worlds apart in terms of where your brain goes.
The first one sends you down a victim spiral. The second pushes you towards solutions, possibilities, agency.
It applies everywhere. Relationships, why do you always? Versus, what do I appreciate most about you? Huge difference in the feeling created.
Business. Donald Trump asking, how can I get rich while everyone else is scared? Instead of just, how do we survive this downturn?
Or that Ford president, Peterson, asking designers, do you actually like the cars you're designing? That question sparked a quality revolution. The questions shape the reality.
And we have to be really aware of the power of presupposition in questions.
Explain that a bit more.
Questions often sneak in assumptions. And even if the assumption isn't true, just asking the question can make people unconsciously accept it.
Like the example with Dan Quayle in Vietnam. The question implied he'd used influence, and people started reacting as if it were fact, even without proof.
Exactly. And we do this to ourselves all the time with our internal questions. Why am I so bad at this? Presupposes that you are bad at it.
So to counter that, the book suggests a really powerful daily ritual, morning questions and evening questions. Consciously ask yourself empowering questions every day, like, what am I truly happy about in my life right now? Or what am I proud of today?
And really feel the answers.
Yeah, feel the gratitude, the pride. It programs your brain for positive states, sets the tone for the whole day, or helps you reflect positively at night.
And that beautiful story about Leo Buscaglia's father.
Oh, I love that one.
Every single night at dinner, his father would ask, Leo, what did you learn today? Just that one simple question.
And it instilled this lifelong habit of curiosity, of learning, of engaging with the world. What a legacy from a single, consistent question.
Okay, element number 3 in the master system, values. The book calls these your internal compass.
They're the deep emotional states we're drawn towards, the moving toward values like love, excitement, growth, security.
And also the states we desperately want to avoid, the moving away from values like rejection, failure, anger, humiliation.
Right. These values are the hidden drivers guiding our path, our destiny. And what's critical to grasp is that we all have a hierarchy of values. Some things are more important to us than others, even if we don't consciously realize it. And that unconscious ranking, it controls our decisions constantly.
So you might say you value adventure most, but if comfort is actually higher on your internal list,
you'll probably choose the comfy couch over the challenging hike more often than not. Your actions reveal your true hierarchy.
That Disneyland dilemma story illustrates this perfectly. Remember Jolie?
Yeah, she got her dream job at Disneyland but felt miserable.
Exactly. On paper, it looked perfect. Prestigious, fun environment. But she was totally unfulfilled.
Why? Because the job's demands, the long hours, the constant on persona, they clashed with her deeper, unacknowledged values. Love, connection, health, personal growth, feeling like she was making a real difference.
Her actions were aligned with her true compass, so even achieving the goal felt empty.
Which leads to a really powerful insight. You can consciously change your values hierarchy. By evaluating what's truly most important to you and deliberately reprioritizing, you can fundamentally shift how you think, feel, and act.
The author shares his own story about this, right? Putting health and intelligence above passion.
Yeah. He realized that pure, unchecked passion, while amazing, could lead him to burnout or make unbalanced choices. By consciously elevating health, vitality, and intelligence, he created a more sustainable, balanced, and ultimately more impactful life for himself. It shows you can consciously design your value system.
And that flows right into the fourth element, rules. These are fascinating. They're your hidden, personal, if-then statements.
Your beliefs about what must happen or must not happen for you to experience one of your values.
They're like your internal judge and jury, constantly deciding, do I get to feel good now or do I feel pain? And it's mostly unconscious.
And what's wild is how different these rules can be from person to person, even in the exact same situation. Like that eclipse experience the book talks about. People gathered to watch a solar eclipse, clouds rolled in.
Oh, yeah. And the reactions were all over the place.
Totally. So people were furious, felt cheated. My rule for enjoyment was see the eclipse perfectly, and it didn't happen, so I'm miserable. Others watched it on a nearby TV screen and were like, wow, this is amazing. Their rule was maybe experience this cool event somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And the author and his wife decided beforehand their rule was enjoy the experience together, no matter the weather, and they did. Same event, totally different feelings, all based on their internal rules.
And rules can be incredibly disempowering if they're set up badly, like having impossible criteria.
Remember Lori, her rules for feeling loved were like, everyone must agree with all my beliefs all the time.
Yeah, that's never going to happen.
Exactly. Or her rule for feeling healthy was be absolutely perfect in my diet and have zero physical pain. Also impossible.
So she was constantly unhappy, stressed, even got an ulcer.
Because her rules were rigid, externally dependent, and set up for failure. If your happiness depends on other people behaving perfectly or circumstances being ideal, you've given away your power.
So empowering rules, they're the opposite. Simple, easy to meet, and mostly under your own control.
Like that CEO whose rule for success was just every day above ground is a great day.
Boom. Instant success, instant gratitude, no matter what the stock market did that day. He defined success in a way he could always achieve. That's powerful.
And this explains so much friction in relationships, doesn't it? Clashing unspoken rules.
Totally. What's your rule for showing respect? Is it listening quietly? Or is it engaging passionately, even arguing?
What's your rule for dealing with being upset?
Mm-hmm.
Do you need space? Or do you talk it out immediately?
If you don't know your partner's rules, and they don't know yours, misinterpretations and conflicts are almost guaranteed.
Okay, so a big action step here. Identify your rules. For your most important values, love, success, health, whatever they are, ask yourself, what absolutely has to happen for me to feel that value? Write them down, then look at them hard. Are they achievable? Are they mostly up to you? Or do they depend on others or external events? Are they flexible?
And distinguish between must rules, the ones that genuinely drive you, and should rules, which often just make you feel guilty or inadequate without providing real motivation.
Yeah. The goal is to design rules that empower you, that make it easy for you to feel good, not rules that set you up for constant frustration.
All right, now for the fifth and maybe the deepest element of the master system, beliefs.
These are powerful. Once we accept a belief, it becomes like an unquestioned command to our nervous system.
It can open up huge possibilities or slam doors shut instantly. Beliefs literally create our reality.
And where do beliefs come from? They're built on our references.
References meaning?
The experiences, the information, the evidence that supports the belief. It could be things we've personally experienced, things we've learned from others, read, heard, seen, or even things we vividly imagined. These references are like the legs holding up the tabletop of the belief. The more legs, the more solid the belief feels.
And here's that mind-blowing part again. Your brain often can't tell the difference between something you vividly imagine and something real you actually experienced.
Which means you can create your own references.
Exactly. You can build certainty, build belief by intensely, emotionally imagining the outcome you want, even if you haven't achieved it yet.
Like Bill Gates promising basic software he didn't have yet.
Precisely. He created the internal reference, the absolute certainty first. That belief drove him to find the resources and make it happen. He built the reference before the reality existed externally.
This also totally changes how we view failure, doesn't it?
Absolutely. How we interpret setbacks, what we decide they mean, that shapes our future beliefs and actions.
That QWERTY keyboard example is perfect, designed to slow down typing. But one flawed reference, one misinterpreted typing contest back in 1882, made it the standard for speed for over 100 years.
We hang on to old beliefs, old references, long after they stop serving us, often without even questioning them.
And beliefs aren't all equal, right? There are levels.
Yeah, the book talks about going from a simple opinion to a stronger belief up to a deep conviction.
Convictions are the most powerful. They feel absolutely certain, unshakable.
And often, they get formed or drastically changed during highly emotional events, where the brain links massive pain or pleasure to holding or changing that belief.
Like that KKK woman on the talk show whose racial convictions completely flipped after that intense emotional encounter. The emotional jolt destabilized her old references and opened her to a new reality.
So what's the practical takeaway for us? How do we build better beliefs?
The most effective way is to model. Find people who are already succeeding wildly in the area you want to improve. Study their actions, sure, but more importantly, figure out and adopt their core beliefs.
If you want financial abundance, what does someone like Warren Buffett truly believe about money, investing, risk?
If you want an amazing relationship, find someone who has one and understand their fundamental beliefs about partnership, communication, love. Their beliefs are the blueprint.
And the book offers this powerful, overarching belief. CANI. Constant and never-ending improvement.
It's more than just a catchy phrase. It's a commitment, a global belief that life is about continuous growth, refinement, learning. It turns everything into an adventure, not a destination.
Like Pat Riley getting the Lakers to improve just 1% in 5 areas?
Yeah, tiny increments.
Yeah.
But that compounded into massive overall gains for the team. It's about consistent, small steps forward, not waiting for some giant leap. And that story of Marva Collins, the teacher.
Wow.
Incredible, right? Her students came in labeled learning disabled, but she had this passionate, deep-rooted conviction that they could learn anything.
And she communicated that belief with such certainty, such love, such congruence.
That the kids started to believe it too, often for the very first time. Her belief literally reshaped their reality and their potential.
So the action step here is introspection and modeling. First, identify your own limiting beliefs. What stories are holding you back?
Then actively seek out new references.
Yeah.
Real-world examples, yes, but also use your imagination vividly. Model the empowering beliefs of those who've achieved what you desire. Rehearse those beliefs, feel them, condition them with emotion until they become your new commands.
Okay, we've covered the master system. Now let's look at some really practical, powerful tools for making changes almost instantly, starting with transformational vocabulary.
This sounds simple, but it's incredibly profound. The actual words we choose to describe our experience, they literally reshape it. They change our perceptions, our feelings.
So if you constantly use really intense negative words, I hate this, I'm furious, this is devastating.
You're actually dialing up the intensity of your own negative emotions. You're amplifying the pain through your word choice.
Yeah, the author shares that personal story about switching from angry to annoyed or a bit peeved.
Right, just changing the label lowered the emotional heat instantly. It broke the escalation pattern. It changed his physical feeling in the moment.
It's such a subtle but powerful self-regulation tool.
And it works in organizations too, that trucking company, PIE.
Oh yeah, they stopped calling mistakes errors.
Right, they started calling them non-conformances. It sounds corporate, but think about the shift. Error implies blame, personal failure. Non-conformance suggests a system issue, a deviation from the standard.
So it made employees feel less defensive, more willing to find solutions.
Exactly. It changed the whole emotional dynamic around mistakes and dramatically reduced them. Words matter.
And of course, the flip side is when words go wrong, especially across cultures, those translation blunders.
Yeah. Pepsi supposedly telling people in China it would bring their ancestors back from the grave.
Or the Chevy Nova in Spanish-speaking countries, Nova, literally meaning it doesn't go. Not great for car sales.
It just hammers home how much words shape perception and influence behavior, whether we intend them to or not.
Okay, actionable step. Create your own transformational vocabulary list.
Pick maybe 3 negative words or phrases you use habitually when you're feeling down or stressed.
Then find replacements. Make them less intense, maybe even a little ridiculous. Instead of depressed, maybe feeling a bit off kilter or running on low battery.
And do the same for positive feelings. Amp them up. Instead of just okay or fine, try spectacular, ecstatic, energized, phenomenal.
Consciously choose words that consistently lift you up and empower you.
Okay, next tool. Life metaphors. These are the symbols, the comparisons we use, often unconsciously, to understand life. Things like life is a journey, or life is a battle, or I feel like I'm drowning in work.
And they're powerful because they carry a lot of emotional weight, right? They instantly frame our experience.
Totally. And changing the metaphor can change the feeling instantly. If someone says they feel the weight of the world on their shoulders.
The book suggests saying, well, why don't you just set the world down for a bit?
Exactly. It's a simple metaphorical reframe, but it can offer immediate relief, a new perspective on the burden.
And the book really pushes us to have multiple metaphors for life, right? Not just get stuck in one.
Yeah, because if your only metaphor is life is a constant battle, guess what you'll always be doing?
Fighting, looking for enemies, feeling exhausted.
Right. But what if life is also a dance, or a gift, or a game, or an adventure? Having multiple empowering metaphors gives you flexibility. It allows you to experience reality in richer, more resourceful ways, depending on the situation.
That story about Martin having the heart attack, the metaphor literally saved his life.
Incredible story. He's in immense pain, crisis mode, and his wife brilliantly says, "Honey, you're just making a movie."
What did that do?
Well, think about making a movie. It implies the pain is temporary. It's not entirely real in the ultimate sense. There's a director, there's an end point.
It put the overwhelming pain into a different, more manageable context.
Exactly. It interrupted his panic state, helped him shift perspective, marshal his resources. It was a life-saving pattern, interrupted using metaphor. And metaphors shape whole cultures, too. Think about the Iron Curtain. That single metaphor defined global politics for decades.
Or Spaceship Earth, changing how we view environmental responsibility.
Yeah. And the fall of the Berlin Wall wasn't just bricks coming down. It created a powerful new metaphor of possibility, of barriers being overcome that resonated globally.
But context is key here. You can't just apply any metaphor anywhere.
Right. The book warns about, say, a manager who sees their job as being the control tower, efficient, precise, maybe a bit detached.
Great for managing air traffic, maybe?
But if they bring that same control tower metaphor home to their family, trying to manage emotions and relationships with pure logic and detachment.
Disaster. Creates distance, feels cold. The metaphor has to fit the context.
So the action step, examine your own metaphors. What are your dominant metaphors for work, for relationships, for learning, for your health?
Are they empowering you? Or are they boxing you in?
Then consciously craft new ones that align with who you want to be and what you want to create.
Like the often shifting to see himself as a success coach. Find metaphors that excite you and pull you forward. Okay, we've covered foundational forces, the NAC steps, the master system, and these instant change tools. Let's bring it home in this final section. Mastering key areas of life for lasting fulfillment. And we kick it off with something intense. The 10-day challenge.
Ah, yes, the mental challenge, immersion in a peak state.
The commitment is simple but demanding. For 10 consecutive days, you absolutely refuse to dwell in any negative or unresourceful emotional state. Zero tolerance.
You focus 100% on solutions, on possibilities, not on problems.
And the rules are strict. No indulging negativity. If you slip, and you probably will at first, you don't beat yourself up.
Right. You just immediately shift your state. Change your focus, change your physiology, snap out of it. Don't wallow.
It's like a rigorous mental cleanse, reprogramming your default emotional habits.
Then why 10 days? Why is it so effective?
Because that consistent, focused effort builds incredible emotional muscle.
You get so strong at redirecting your focus, at choosing your state, that many things that used to seem like problems just dissolve. They don't trigger you anymore. You start operating from a higher baseline, seeing opportunities where you used to see obstacles. It creates powerful momentum. Okay, let's touch on a few key life areas, starting with health and vitality. First, the book makes a useful distinction. Health is your body's internal state organs, systems working well. Fitness is more your physical capacity, your endurance. Both vital, but different.
Right. And a huge focus is on the aerobic advantage.
Yes. Getting your heart rate up consistently through things like brisk walking, swimming, jogging, it's crucial for burning fat efficiently. And critically, for preventing heart disease, still the #1 killer in the U.S., it's foundational for a long, vibrant life.
That ultramarathoner, Stu Middleman, running 84 miles a day without hitting the wall.
Incredible, isn't it? He trained his body, his metabolism, to primarily burn fat for fuel, which is a much more sustainable energy source than just blood sugar. It shows the amazing potential we have if we understand and train our bodies correctly.
And the anti-aging aspect is exciting too, the link between aerobic exercise and human growth hormone, HGH.
Right. When you exercise in that optimal aerobic zone, your body naturally releases more HGH. And HGH helps with tissue repair, muscle tone, vitality. It effectively helps slow down the aging process.
So exercise isn't just for losing weight, it's literally about staying younger longer.
Action step for health. The book strongly suggests getting a heart rate monitor. Understand your zones, and then commit to a 10-day aerobic plan. Warm up, get in the zone for 30+ minutes, cool down.
Condition your metabolism, and maybe more importantly, start reframing exercise. See it as a pleasure, a privilege, a positive addiction that fuels everything else. Okay, next vital area. Relationship. So crucial for happiness.
And so easily eroded by what the book calls the 4 R's: resistance, resentment, rejection, repression.
These sneak in when communication breaks down, right? When needs aren't met, feelings get ignored or stuffed down.
Exactly, leading to distance and disconnection.
So the antidote, clear communication. Be willing to make your rules and expectations known, gently.
And use that transformational vocabulary. Talk about preferences, not accusations.
Instead of, I hate it when you do that. I'd really prefer it if we could try doing it this way instead. Huge difference in how it lands.
Makes the other person less defensive, more open.
And you have to prioritize relationships, actively nurture them.
If they aren't a conscious priority, they just fade into the background noise of life. The connection weakens.
Schedule regular date nights. Take turns planning surprises. Keep investing energy and attention.
And I love the simple final tip for intimacy. Make sure you get a good 180-second wet kiss every day.
Haha. It sounds almost trivial, but it's powerful.
Totally. It's a small, consistent act that reinforces connection, affection, physical intimacy daily. Tiny action, huge rewards.
All right, let's tackle financial mastery, a big area of stress for many.
And often, the book argues, the struggle comes from those mixed associations we talked about earlier. Wanting money, but fearing greed or judgment.
Plus, that underlying scarcity mindset, believing there's only so much to go around.
This is where Paul Pilser's idea of economic alchemy is so cool.
Transforming something of little value into something much greater.
Exactly. Through ideas, technology, creativity, like oil once a nuisance, now a source of immense wealth. Wealth isn't fixed. It's constantly being created and redefined by human ingenuity.
So what are the keys to building wealth, according to the book?
Number 1, absolutely crucial. Adding value. Consistently find ways to add real value to other people's lives.
That's the core engine of income growth. Why does a skilled surgeon earn more than a doorman? They provide significantly more perceived value.
Or that radio salesperson who focused on making their clients genuinely more successful through the ads. They added value way beyond just selling airtime.
So the question becomes, how can I increase the value I provide by 10x, 15x?
Key number 2, saving and investing. Non-negotiable. Pick a percentage, at least 10%, and invest it first, before anything else gets paid.
Pay yourself first. Simple concept, hard for many to execute consistently.
But vital for building a base.
Key 3, the magic of compounding. Reinvesting your returns so your money starts making money for you.
That napkin folding analogy is mind-bending. Fold it 50 times, it reaches the sun and back.
Shows the exponential power of consistent growth over time. That's how you reach critical mass for financial freedom.
Key 4, protecting your assets, especially in a litigious society like the U.S.
As wealth grows, you need smart strategies to shield it from unfair lawsuits or unforeseen events. Preserve what you've built.
And finally, key 5, enjoying your wealth. True wealth is a feeling, right? A sense of abundance, gratitude.
And tithing, giving a portion away, actually helps cultivate that feeling.
Yeah, it trains your brain to believe, I have more than enough. It shicks you out of scarcity thinking. Plus, it feels good and makes a difference.
Okay, actionable steps for finance. Commit to adding massive value. Save and invest that 10% plus consistently. Get good financial advice. And practice feeling abundant now.
Now, perhaps the highest purpose. Contribution. Making a difference beyond yourself. The book calls this the ultimate goal. It provides a sense of meaning and fulfillment that lasts a lifetime, unlike fleeting pleasures.
And it's not about being a martyr, right? It's not self-sacrifice.
True contribution benefits everyone. It gives back to you pride, self-esteem, connection, while helping others. It's a win-win.
Even small things have those processional effects, ripples.
Yeah, a genuine smile, a compliment, holding a door. They can change someone's moment, maybe their day, and then they pass it on. Small acts create positive chains.
Yeah.
Which ties into being a hero. A hero isn't fearless.
Right. A hero feels the fear but contributes anyway. Does what's right despite the fear. Defies adversity through courageous action.
And our choices have broader impacts too, like on the environment. Our consumption patterns matter.
Boycotts show collective power. Individual choices, multiplied, can create significant change. Actionable contribution. Brainstorm simple ways. Visit seniors. Help a neighbor. Volunteer a few hours a month.
Even 5 hours a month, scaled up, makes a massive difference nationally. Look into programs like Commit To for structured, simple acts. Okay, nearly there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about creating a compelling future through goals.
Nothing happens unless first a dream. Goals make the dream concrete. They unleash your power, give you direction.
And the right goal. It needs to be big, exciting. Maybe feels a little impossible, but just thinking about it gets you fired up.
Like young OJ telling Jim Brown he'd break all his records. That's a compelling future.
We need to overcome the fear of disappointment, though. That stops so many people.
Realize that setbacks aren't final. They're just feedback. Champions adjust their approach, but they don't give up the vision.
That yesterday, today, tomorrow. Exercise is useful here. Quickly score yourself 110 in key life areas.
See how far you've come? Identify where to focus next. A simple reality check.
And leverage pressure. Tell people your goals. Get allies. Makes it harder to quit when things get tough.
Persistence is key. Peter Guber taking 9 years to get Batman made, believing Rain Man would win the Oscar.
That's conviction. Changing tactics, yes, but never abandoning the ultimate vision. And the science. Setting clear goals activates your reticular activating system, RAS.
Your brain's filter.
Yeah. It starts unconsciously noticing everything related to your goal, resources, opportunities, people, things you would have missed otherwise.
Action step. Create your compelling one-year goals. Personal growth, career, fun stuff, contribution.
For each one, write why. Why are you committed? Stack up those emotional reasons.
Then rehearse them. Vividly see, hear, feel yourself achieving them. Condition them into your reality.
Quickly then, mastering time and life. Feeling stressed about time, it's often about focus.
Dwelling on the past, worrying about the future. Instead of being present and productive now, time perception is mental.
Simple strategy. Do your 3 to 5 most important things first each day. Focus on priorities. Gain satisfaction. Avoid overwhelm.
And finally, don't forget, rest and play. Balance is crucial.
Even God took 1 day off. Relentless drive without breaks leads to burnout.
Embrace your inner child. Have spontaneous fun. Get lost in activities you enjoy. It rejuvenates you, sparks creativity, fuels everything else. So that's the core of it. You now have the key insights from Awaken the Giant Within. You understand you're the director. You have the power to control your state, your focus, your actions, your destiny.
Remember those negative emotions. They're just signals, action signals, guiding you, telling you what needs to change perception, communication, or behavior. They're allies, not enemies.
And remember, transformation isn't one giant leap. It's the sum total of small decisions you and I make every day. Those daily choices compound to create your destiny.
We truly believe everyone has a hero inside. The capacity to contribute courageously, to defy adversity, to act on your beliefs even with fear. That potential is in you.
Okay, this deep dive has laid out the map, a powerful guide to an extraordinary life. But listening isn't enough. The real value comes from action. So our final question to you: what single lesson, what one strategy from today will you commit to implementing right now?
Will you challenge a limiting belief? Set a new, compelling goal. Change your vocabulary. Interrupt a pattern.
Pick just one thing. Start today. Begin your journey of constant and never-ending improvement. The giant within you is ready. Awaken it